So, we are in a moment. We are in a moment, collectively, globally, spiritually, personally, on a lot of levels, right? Things are bubbling up in our collective consciousness and in the world, and that's just the macro stuff, the stuff that we see in the headlines. Um, see the throngs of people showing up on the streets yesterday. Some people in this room were part of that group. Um, yeah, I'm not a political scientist, and I prefer to leave that to others. But as a witness, as just an observer, it's interesting. It's interesting. Um, we are in a moment, but it makes me wonder as I kind of meditate through these readings. Have we ever not been in a moment? Have we ever not been in a moment? I mean, I think back in time, and I'm like, well, the '90s was kind of chill. I grew up in the '90s. I was a kid in the '90s. Remember the '90s? The 1990s? But then again, I think of my own story in the 1990s, though may have been kind of chill looking back. They were not chill for me personally. I mean, it was a challenging time for me, and maybe for some of you, I'm not sure. But, we're always kind of in a moment, in some level, right? We're always in a moment. Looking at our reading from Isaiah, I mean, things are touch and go for us, but to be exiled hundreds of miles from your home in a foreign country, in Egypt, say, for who knows how long, they were in a moment. Or I look at the Apostle Paul, and, this guy was like the most religious of the religious. He was so righteous in his religiosity, right? And he was doing all the right things on paper. But then he had that moment of realization that, oh my goodness, all these things that I've been doing that I thought were righteous were actually just distancing me from my neighbors and from my God, and therefore from myself. Paul was in a moment. And then in the gospel story, in this, you can almost taste the awkward, like, kind of tension in the room where Jesus is there and just raised this guy, Lazarus. Here's the guy who's been raised from the dead, just hanging out in the room. And then we have Mary and Martha, and they're in a moment. They're in a moment before the journey to Jerusalem. And things are unraveling quickly. Like, all these things are kind of coming to a head. It's amazing that Lazarus was raised from the dead. What an amazing, miraculous event. But it's also, at the same time, unraveling into to the cross, to this place of this mission that we all signed up for, and we saw this maybe grand vision of restoration and things being set right, is not going the way that we planned. So there's complex emotions, right? Complex dynamics going on. And again, I think this is just part of the human situation. And so let's just take a moment in Lent to acknowledge whatever moment you are in right now. We don't slow down enough usually to really just acknowledge it, just to sit with it. Just sit with what is going on in my world, in my life, in the global collective. We just kind of keep going. We don't just sit. So now I give you permission to just take a moment, to not try to fight it, fix it, ignore it, bypass it, but to just sit with it, knowing that we are safe with each other, with God, whose love surrounds us and enfolds us. We're safe to be with it because God is with us. But what I usually do, and maybe you can identify with this, is to cast blame, to cast blame. And the person I want to blame here is Judas. I want to blame Judas. He's the guy who's stealing, who's acting like he's giving to the poor, but he's pocketing money on the side. If we just get rid of all the Judases in the world, we should be okay, right? Really, that'd be great. That would be really easy. But the place to find Judas, you just go in your bathroom and you look in the mirror, because Judas lives in each one of us. I'm not saying that we fully we are Judas and we're all just kind of a bunch of thieves and scoundrels. Well, we all have that in us, though, right? We have the capacity to fall into fear, to kind of do things for our own benefit, but to the harm of others. No one does this kind of thing out of love. No one pockets money while performatively showing righteousness out of love, right? It's not like he's getting away with this great thing. It's a scarcity consciousness that Judas is operating from, and I think we all fall into this. It's kind of like it's a contagion. It's a mental, social contagion. It's just something that we all fall into as humans. We can't see what God is doing, right? It's kind of getting wrapped up in the old thing. You look out at the world and you see what's going on, and the old models that we maybe leaned on at one time are not there anymore. The old ways that held us at one time are falling apart. People we've known and loved for a long time are dying. Parts of ourselves that we found security in are dying. This is life, right? The old is constantly dying. And I think what we're seeing now is just a groaning. It's like a groaning, this old collective energy or whatever. I'm being very hippie here, I know. Is dying. It's like the gasps of it are very strong and violent. And it's hard to be right now. So we want to blame. See, Judas is just clinging to this old way. He's clinging to the scarcity model or the scarcity mindset that's so easy to fall into. You're being wasteful, Mary, by using this expensive perfume. You could have spent that on the poor, Now, I know the church is kind of sometimes it's easy, but great, we don't need to take care of the poor anymore. Jesus said there's always going to be poor people with us, right? Gets us off the hook. Jesus was really good at reading the room and reading the situation. We can't pluck that one little line out and say that, therefore, we don't need to give to the poor anymore. He was echoing Deuteronomy, where it says, since there will never cease to be some in need, open your hand to the poor. His point isn't to neglect the poor. He's saying that some offerings, right, some devotion, some reverence, some love defies calculation. It defies instrumentalization. Not everything must be efficient, right? There's a song I heard recently by the Resistance Revival Chorus called This Joy is the name of the song. And I'm not going to try to sing it. You don't want me to do that. But it's the chorus is this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. See, I think in our culture, especially now, we're looking to the material world for solutions. We're looking to the material world for solutions to these big problems we're facing, right? And we're not seeing it. It's really easy to fall into despair. But the gift that we have as spiritual people is that we can maybe dip into something deeper. a deeper well, where things are happening that we can't see, that we can't smell, that we can't forecast, that we can't calculate. And we trust in this. We trust in the unseeable. And I think for an example, for how to go forward, I think Mary is a wonderful example for how to proceed in our current environment. Let's look to Mary. No, this is not Mary Magdalene. No, she was not a prostitute. Some pope said that back in the day. That is entirely not true. Mary probably was one of the bigger bankrollers of Jesus' ministry, just like many women here in this room are bankrollers of this church. She was awesome. She was a prophet, a visionary, a priest. She sacralized the love that undergirds everything. Where everyone else in the room saw scarcity and uncertainty, and she saw that Jesus is going to the grave, and this whole mission that they are going through is totally upended, and there's no hope, and she sees something deeper. She sees a love that's welling up from underneath everything. I don't know. I like to, directionality is big. I'm a spatial person. And I grew up thinking God was an old man up there, and that we were like trying to get good to like reach God up here. But what I'm seeing now is that when I'm in my hardest moments, my darkest night, I feel like I'm down here. But as I fall, there's an upswell that meets me. I feel like this is the shape of God. It's an upswelling from the ground that meets us at our lowest point. Can you feel that in the room right now? And this is what Mary points to. She sees the God who enters flesh to be with us through the death of the old. This God is entering the flesh of Jesus, incarnated as Jesus, to show us that God is with us through the death of the old, and she sacralizes this with her perfume, with the smell, with the olfactory smell, the senses. That's one of your biggest senses, the olfactory smell. You know, this is why old churches have incense to fill us with that smell. And it ties to memory, like Sandy was doing here. You smell someone's cologne, your dad's cologne, it takes you right back. Just like chef, that's what chefs play off of, is smell. You know, you're smelling things, right? She's just this extravagant, sensorial, visceral, like incarnation is just beautiful that she is bringing to be. I want to read a quick poem by Helen Mallicoat. It's short, I promise. It's called My Name is I Am. It goes like this. I was regretting the past and fearing the future. Suddenly my Lord was speaking. My name is I Am. He paused. I waited. He continued. When you live in the past, with its mistakes and regrets, it is hard. I am not there. My name is not I was. When you live in the future, with its problems and fears, it is hard. I am not there. My name is not I will be. When you live in this moment, it is not hard. I am here. My name is I am. I am. Mary is the divinized. She is full of God, the God that is here with us now, not in this projected mission that they thought of, they idealized, but now, in the brokenness, in the sorrow, in the confusion. This is where God is found in its fullness. Each one of you is where God is showing up right now. We are all divinized in God. This is how we walk into the world as Christians. Not as, oh, let's see if we can just get a little bit here and there. We are full with God to be with each other and with the world that is hurting, right? Do you smell this joy? I do. Even though things look bleak, even though things look very uncertain, Mary is pointing us to a deeper truth. This is scandalous. Letting her hair down. How dare she do that? Let her hair down like that. Get on her knees and rub this Messiah's feet with perfume. What a scandalous thing to do. Mary has died to herself. She has fully surrendered her inhibitions to the Spirit that carries her in this state of profound elation. It's here in this moment. And what's the most extravagant act of all is Christ's own on the cross, where his life is poured out for all of us, where he overcomes the stench of death and brings into new life. And still today, this fragrance lingers in each one of you, for you are a divine outpouring of God. And so it is. Amen.